Hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Bull and Specs podcast. I'm Shane O'Connor. He's Adrian Lacey. If you've not joined us before, where have you been? We've been flogging our guts out here for you, and you've not even deigned to download us or anything, have they, Adrian?
That's very good saying deigned to download and not getting it wrong.
Deigned to download. Since I've had these teeth fixed, I'm rocking. Deigned to download.
You've whitened them as well, I see. But
No, I
that's
haven't actually. No, I thought you might ask me about that. I just had an accident with some Tipex earlier, and I haven't done them yet. No, I'll do. I shouldn't really be drinking tea, so they stain your teeth as well.
Oh yeah. Well, if you're going to drink tea, I'm going to drink. Yeah, but you know it's better if you rinse at the end. But who does that? I do.
Rinse at the end of what?
Tea or coffee.
Really? With what? Well, just water?
I won't do it on camera, but if you swill and spit, madam, yes, water. Diluted, of course. Don't want neat water.
That's something you don't see, is it, every day? Amateur dentistry. Do you know,
we're already off topic, and we haven't even gone on topic.
I've got loads of pair supplies in the shed, and I just thought, nobody ever says to you, go on, have a go. Go on, throw that on there. See how far you can get with it. It doesn't happen.
Well, I think that's a cause for celebration myself.
Absolutely. I'll have another one in a minute. Anyway, if you've not joined us before on the podcast, basically, it's two old geezers get together, metaphorically, because geographically we're quite some way away. I'm in the Midlands and he's down south.
I'm a geezer!
You're mugging me off. And we get together and we just chat about the things that have made our week, and then we talk about some of the news stories that are probably may have invaded your week as well. So shall we kick off and talk about our week and what we've been up to? Normally we have a show and tell. Have you done your own?
Something. Have you brought anything? Yes, this is well, I suppose I should explain both for the listeners who can't see me holding it up to the camera, and it doesn't make an awful lot of noise, and also to young people. This is what we used to call a book, right?
No,
and it's got a cover. They're called covers.
We're getting very educational, aren't we? Because we talked about libraries in the last podcast, and a lot of the kids
I was
were there
lost,
looking
frankly.
up.
Yeah, but I looked it up on an app, and I've worked out what a library is. Anyway, this book is rather dear to my heart, and I think will be yours. You haven't seen this. We haven't rehearsed this, have we? Nothing up my sleeve.
No.
It's called How to Be a Disc Jockey by the very famous disc jockey David C. Do we know David C.?
No, I knew his brother Red.
Was he a communist by any chance?
Red Sea.
That was awful, even by your standards.
Terrible, wasn't it, really? I was trying to think of all the
you
seas.
didn't need to explain. It was terrible enough before you explained.
I thought who would call their kid Mediterranean. This is what's going through my head all the while. Do you know what I mean? It's like a constant noise.
It must be terrible.
I don't know. What was his name?
David C.
Never heard of him.
Double E. No, well, to an extent, that's the point. But I don't know. I hope he's very much still with us. But this book was writ way back in the last century, 1980.
Wow.
Count 38 years ago.
Which is why it's got the 1980s Top of the Pops kind of writing on it, hasn't it? I think is the best way to describe it.
Yeah. That was the Phil Lynott one, wasn't it? No, it's even earlier than that.
Oh.
Yellow Pearl. Sorry,
that's it. Theme tune.
Drifting off as usual. Yeah. Theme tune too.
Top of the Pops.
But what was the best ever, without a doubt, theme tune to the Pops? There's no debate in my view.
It's got to be.
Don't sing any more, otherwise we'll end up in court. Jimmy Page can afford a better lawyer than you can.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, if you think you'd have took him to all the ones where they've said that they've ripped off other people's songs, wouldn't you? If he got a good one, you'd have took him to those court cases, wouldn't they? I guess.
Anyway, do you know the name of the band? Sorry, this is a digression, ladies and gentlemen. The name of the band playing Whole Lot of Love, which is indeed, of course, the Led Zepp song.
Yeah.
That theme tune. Name of the band?
What, isn't it Led Zepp playing that on the?
No. It's Alexis Corner's lot.
No way, is it?
It's his. I always get this wrong because there's a studio with a very similar name. CCS. Is that the studio or is that the name of the band?
No.
Anyway, it's a really 60s name for the band. It's something like the something society. I think the S is Society. It's really heavy socialism. Man. Anyway, two drummers, one of whom I used to work with because he was in the Wogan house band. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, just put the kettle on. We're going to have a little chat. No.
Was
we
that
will open
was
it
that a
out.
promotion to go from Alexis Corner's band to being in the Wogan house band? It's difficult to say because you're on national telly, but then you're in Wogan's house band. So is that?
And he, bless him, Barry Morgan's no longer with us, I gather. Yeah, he had to wear a very bright blue
Pants?
blazer.
Okay.
I never saw those. But boy, could he play. Because you'd have the warm-up guy talking away, getting, as the name implies, warming up the crowd. This is Wogan's TV chat show around the time when this book came out.
Who was the
Well, that was a few
warm-up
years
guy?
ago.
Can you remember the warm-up guy?
Yes, it was the wonderful Felix Boness, who used to be in
No.
5 Trivia Points. Should know. He was a jockey, not disc variety. He was in it's Heidi High.
Heidi
isn't it?
High. I was going to say that, yeah.
you should have said Hody
He was
Ho.
the jockey in Heidi High.
Yeah,
Oh, cool. Okay.
the right size for it as well.
Yeah.
Not too tall.
Oh, that'll
Anyway.
be why you never see Brian Blessed riding a horse.
They haven't found a horse big enough or one that can cope with the voice. But anyway, we digress. What I was going to say was Felix Boness, bless him, would be warming up the crowd, loads of gags, blah, 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 ha, 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 ha. And then suddenly it would go, and, oh,
And he'd be
lost my
off.
stopwatch now. And who should have turned up with this rousing drum roll, drum
old-
fill,
Terry Morgan.
over to you for an impersonation.
It's a Thursday night, and I'm Terry Morgan.
And not a child in the house is washed. Bosh, we got a cracking show for you tonight. And we have, haven't we, when we eventually do it.
Yeah. Anyway, so the book, yeah.
Why is this in my mind? Well, it's because someone pointed it out. The truth is, don't tell the people who bought me this, but I use it to lean on when I've got an A4 pad or just a few sheets of A4. You don't want to, mark your favourite table. So I lean on this.
So it's been quite supportive then over the years.
Well, very supportive, but I haven't read it. But do you want some wisdom on how to be a disc jockey?
Maybe you should.
Because it might be a bit late for both of us.
Go on.
Here's a very trendy looking disc jockey. Sorry, listeners, but I would describe a very hirsute, florally shirted DJ. Sadly, ladies, it is a male of the species because it was unthinkable in 1980 that a female would want to be a disc jockey.
No, it wasn't.
Slightly
Anne Nightingale
slightly tongue-in-cheek.
had her 86th birthday in 1980.
Yeah,
didn't
but
she?
how many... Stop it. How many female disc jockeys other than her were there on the radio?
Loads.
No, simply not loads.
There
Not
were.
in 1980, mate.
There were. I'll get the figures for you.
I want the names.
I'll get the figures first, and then I'll get the names.
No, I want names first, then figures.
Oh, all right then.
Anyway, over to you. How's your week been?
Oh, it's
young
been
Shane?
terrible.
Yeah, but that's true of every week.
It's been awful. Look at this. Look at this. I'll have to show it to the one camera first of all. Okay.
I think is it a bird
It's
feeder?
my bird feeder, but look at my problem that I've got.
Oh, is it a squirrel's broken in?
Yeah, I've been robbed.
Flipping squirrels.
I've been squirrelised.
Did he actually? I'm assuming it's a he. Has he bitten his way into it?
Yeah, it's just like it's really tough plastic that is as well, and he's wrecked it. He's wrecked the whole thing because that was like for a feeder for small. I've got one for like bigger peanuts and that, and one.
Yeah.
This is one for the small like seeds.
Can I
stuff.
point out for our listeners that you are making some kind of vague shape with your fingers?
What for?
This is what you said. This is small.
Yeah, small ones. Yeah.
I thought that was the bird.
No, that's
I thought it was the bird
international.
game.
That's
Flutter, flutter.
international digit dexterity for small. That is. Look, small.
British
Large.
Sign Language.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But yeah, I don't really know what to do because I've been, in a way, it's my own fault because I've been trying to encourage the squirrel because I've only got one, and he lives down in the
one.
edge down the bottom, and he's quite a timid little creature, as they tend to be. But obviously, when he comes up, he's like having a party at my expense, isn't he? You know. Now I don't know what to do. What shall I just get stronger bird feeders?
Yes.
Or I briefly went online just to have a quick look just to see whether it was possible. And you can actually make a squirrel feeder. But I don't know whether he's going to be happy with that, Adrian. That's the problem. You know what I mean? Is he going to be No, I'm all right, thanks. I'll have the bird food because that's what they're a bit cocky like that, aren't they, Squirrel?
Yeah, but if you could lure him away with a bespoke squirrel feeder, he's going to forget the bird feeder. But you should get, there are, maybe even that was marketed as one, there are bird feeders that are actually advertised as squirrel proof, are they not?
Yeah, but then they just spend all their time trying to prove that they're not. You know what squirrels are like. As soon as they
It's a red rag to a squirrel.
Exactly. They see the box in the bin and they go, oh, squirrel proof, is it? Oh, come on then. Let's get me pliers out and do some do-it-yourself dentistry.
How do you know they read English?
Of course they do.
They read squirrel.
How would they know where the nuts are if they don't read English? They wait until you put the wrapper in the bin, and as soon as you do, that's it, mate. They're in like a shot.
You should shred the wrapper. That's where you're going wrong, mate.
Is that's what it is. So what do I do? Do I? I don't know. I don't know what to do.
What'll I do? I think you've got to get a twin track approach. It's got to be a squirrel feeder (brackets bespoke) and close brackets, and then a squirrel proof feeder, but make sure you don't bin the box where they can read
what it is.
The label. Yeah.
Yeah, see the thing is with the squirrel proof feeder as well, they probably cost a fortune, don't they? Because they'll market them as, some super duper squirrel feeder. I mean, not squirrel feeder, bird feeder, squirrel proof.
Right.
And then knowing my luck, I'll get a rogue raccoon who'll move into the area and he'll start eating the stuff instead.
Okay, so we've done our news from the past week. Next up on Bull and Specs, one of two stories, as Shane alluded to earlier, from the past week that you're probably familiar with. Very hard to avoid this one, actually, if you've imbibed any kind of news. Roseanne Barr's tweet, with the offensive racist tweet that got her booted from ABC, which had rebooted her show, which was such a big hit. Was it early 90s, Shane?
I think so,
All
yeah.
so long ago.
I've never been a big I've watched it. Have you ever watched her show, the original?
I must have done
Roseanne?
Back in the day, but probably only one or two just to see what it was like, and it's not my cup of tea, he says, sipping tea.
I think it was one of those that Channel 4 had, wasn't it, in the UK, in the...
That's right, yes.
In their early days, it was one of those that they brought across and inflicted upon us. But yeah, so I have seen it. But you're right, it was an absolute reboot, isn't it? It's a complete... It was in the first series, wasn't it? I think ABC decided to resurrect it and bring it back. You mentioned the tweet was racist. And my first reaction to this is because everybody just says it's racist, and you go, oh, okay, is it racist? First of all, what she said.
Well, it's the association, isn't it? It's one of those things you have to kind of allude to it, which was the reference to Valerie Jarrett looking like a cross between, or some kind of coupling. I forget the phrase she used. I've lost the tweet now.
Well, she said they had it was Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes
and
had a baby equals VJ was the...
I'd say that's fairly convincingly racist.
Well,
you'd have to be wriggling dancing on a pinhead to avoid that. Well, ape reference and Muslim reference.
Well, Muslims aren't a race, so that's the first thing out, isn't it?
Okay, but predominantly tend not to be white, working class. I would say.
Isn't that racist to say that? You just assuming that...
No, it's absolutely not racist to say that. It's absolute fact, you nana.
No, it isn't. It is. Why predominantly?
Oh, so you know lots of white Muslims in your neighbourhood, do you?
Well, I don't know any Muslims, to be honest with you. It's not the first thing
exactly.
I asked them, because I'm not a religious inclined person. But
no, okay, of course there are such things, people converting, but there's it's in the margins.
I don't think predominantly cuts it though, does it? I don't think you can go, oh, it's racist because they're predominantly this. It's not a race.
Saying it's coincidence? So, what is she alluding to using the Planet of the Apes reference? It's not Helena Bonham Carter, is it? For goodness sakes.
Well, no, but I mean, again, it's. You see, I was trying to say, well, what's the what's a similar? If you did it the other way around, what would if you said that's Shane O'Connor? He's like if the IRA and I don't know, a boiled egg mated. Is that racist?
No. Well, that's a nonsense parallel, which isn't a parallel.
Well,
you
no,
have Irish roots.
I've used...
It would be me like saying, A, you're thick, and apologies to all Irish people here, but you have pushed me on this, and that you're a little leprechaun and you can't be taken seriously. Well, the last thing's true of you, but it's terrible racial stereotyping, isn't it?
But is that racism? And it's all I've done. I looked at the latest definition,
yes,
of racism and see whether it fits into the. Now, I'm not disagreeing with you. It's hateful and it's nasty and it's not a nice thing to say. But whether it's racism by the definition of racism is. And it's interesting. Was it Whoopi Goldberg who went off on somebody? Who was it? Somebody on The View, Rosie O'Donnell, and she said, "How dare you say what racism is? Like because you're a white woman telling me what I feel." And you think, hang on a second, how does that doesn't work at all? And you have to work from a standard definition of what's racist. Now, I'm not saying it's not nasty; it's vile. But whether it's racist or not, it's and if you look at the definition, you think, well, where does it fit into racism? That's all I'm saying.
Well, I would find it hard to find any other route other than race-related. I mean, I get the pedantic point. I mean, we can get into saying
it's not pedantry though, is it? It isn't that. It's like, do you know, on the back of Ocado. There's a is it Ocado or Sainsbury's? There's a picture of a lad who is I think he's black, and he's eating a strawberry or he's eating some fruit. And I thought that's fine. If he was eating a banana, then that would be racist.
Now, hang on. Are you trying to wind me up?
No. I'm just saying that. But that's because people have said. That if you do that, then that's this.
Well, but it has a history and a context, doesn't it? I mean, I don't go to football matches, but I'm told, and certainly in the bad old days, that people would be throwing bananas, wouldn't they? So it's not coming from nowhere, is it? It's not Tesco inventing racism, or it's not trivial because it's got that context.
No, but like I say, if you and I'm not defending what she said because I just I think, but equally, if you say something, people have said things about. It's interesting if you put in Donald Trump and try and look up the insults that people have said to him and the slurs that people have said to him. It's all a big joke. The top 10 best insults that people have said to Donald Trump, and I kind of think, and what worries me is that there's now. The context of everything is that if you're it's like what was it that on Brasside good AIDS and bad AIDS it's that kind of we're now in that kind of environment where you can say right I can say anything I like about you and that's good because I've got the shield of right on my side and you can't say anything about that. Do you know what I mean? And it's like that's
but
wrong.
if someone could be credited with, and that's not the right term, that's deeply sarcastic, but given credit in heavy quotes for a further decline in public discourse, i.e. it's okay to be rude about each other on Twitter, that has to be one Donald J. Trump, doesn't it? Having a lot to do with the particular circumstance we're in now.
So, but that doesn't. So you can say, well, if you've not said anything to somebody, then it's okay. People are fair game that they can't say anything to you. But if you've said something nasty to somebody, then you can have that back.
I didn't understand that sprawling sentence fully, but no,
which bit didn't you understand? If I'm nasty to somebody else on Twitter, then I'm fair game. That's what you're saying.
No, I'm saying, I'll repeat it because you obviously didn't understand what I said either, that Donald Trump has inflamed, he's made it more, quotes, acceptable, apparently. For some people, he's kind of given them license he's turned up the heat, hasn't he? So, and he is president of the United States, so it's not just like me getting a bit riled on Twitter, which would have absolutely no impact, and nor should it if I get riled. You've gone strangely quiet. You're searching for something online, aren't you?
No, I'm not. No, I don't. I still, my point is exactly the same. Is if you're nasty to somebody else, then you're fair game. Is essentially what you're saying. Or
no, I'm not saying
he shouldn't be nasty because
Donald,
he's the president. And
yeah,
so he's fair game.
You call me old-fashioned. I'd like leaders to actually lead, and that includes a moral lead. I don't expect them to be perfect, but I don't expect them to be, yah-booing like they're kids in a playground, which Trump, does descend into on a fairly frequent basis.
But all I'm saying is you can't have it both ways. You either say that you have a standard that you adhere to, or you don't.
I'm not asking for it both ways, but I'm asking for, we all need to turn the temperature down, but it would help if the leader of the so-called free world would turn the temperature down, because he's got more clout, however many millions of followers, even more than you.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, I still, the name calling on Twitter. I mean, personally, I've always thought that it's going to be the first time that a lawyer grabs hold of it and says, actually, I can make some money out of this and start to prosecute or start to take people to court or start to sue them. That may be when it all stops. I don't know, but
well, that has already happened, hasn't it? With I don't know about the money thing. Yes, they do make money out of it. I don't know what their driving principle is, but someone's been done for libel in the UK. I don't want to repeat the libel, but it was to do with a child abuse thing, wasn't it? Which turned out to not have any grounds. I can't remember her name, but so yes, we've already had the precedent set.
So are you saying there's no equivalence then to this? Because you said you can't, so that's a ridiculous thing to say. That if somebody says something about
boiled
me,
egg.
What is the or whatever? I mean, I don't know. Is there an equivalence to this then? Is there? Can I be offended in the same way?
Well, can I point out the bleeding obvious, which you love to ignore, which is that we are still in a majority white country. So I don't think that's irrelevant. You'll probably argue it is. But, given that, I see it's a power thing, isn't it? Maybe you don't analyse it in that way. Maybe you see it in different terms. Anyway, I see it as a power thing.
How do you mean a power thing? What does that mean?
Well, certainly historically, and this would have been true of, say, your dad came over from Ireland, you'd be in a minority, wouldn't you? As an Irish person, still would be. But also, a lot of people coming over would have done manual work. I don't look down my nose at manual work, but some people do, and so there's this exploitation of we'll make jokes about you because we don't think you're as sophisticated as we are, and we don't really value manual labour, so we'll make fun of you.
Right. I just said to you, I've just finished reading John Cleese's autobiography, and he was saying about how he thought that political correctness had killed the ability to make jokes. You can make. I think he was saying you can make jokes about Canadians, or you can make jokes about the Welsh or Scottish or whatever. But there are certain races that you can't make jokes about, and you kind of think, is that helpful or not? And I tell you what they were saying was they did a sketch in, I don't know if you remember it, they did a sketch in an Indian restaurant, and not Eric Idle, it was Michael Palin was the Indian waiter. And he said, we wouldn't be able to do that now, not because we were making fun of the Indian waiter, but because he did it with an Indian accent. And he's not Indian.
Yeah,
but you can do an Irish accent if you're not Irish. You can do a Canadian accent if you're not Canadian.
Well, I don't know. I'd be cautious with an Irish accent. It's all context, isn't it? If I do it in the context of looking down my nose at someone and implying that because they come from across the Irish Sea, they're not very sophisticated. How am I doing the Irish accent? Or am I being, a .com billionaire? And there's a lot of, IT stuff in Ireland these days. You could do a reverse joke where you, I don't know, turn it on its head somehow.
I don't know how you do an Irish accent that implies all of that or not.
Well, I'm saying it's the context it's in.
So what you're saying rather than the way you're saying it, do you think? But it's not, is it? The people say, well, no, you can't. There are accents you can do. There are accents you can't do. We all know that there are. I mean, it's not a secret, is it? That's how it's been legislated.
Is it in legislation? Thou shalt not do.
No. Sorry, I didn't mean really. I mean like legislated.
Incitement to racial hatred.
I don't mean like actual legislation. I meant legislated as in people have decided that's how it's going to be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Shall we try and bring it back to Roseanne? I mean, all we've demonstrated is it is very complicated, and there isn't a one size fits all. But even if you don't want to call it racism, I mean, you've acknowledged it's very nasty.
Oh, it's horrible, isn't it?
Yes. But it's bizarre as well. The only smile I've managed over it was did you hear the comeback from the drug manufacturers of Ambien? She was kind of implying.
I'd missed that bit. Did she try and say that it was a side effect of she was using the drug and that's why she tweeted it?
That seemed to be the implication. She said it was 2 a.m. Ambien inspired tweeting, and they came back with they said some PR person at Ambien head office said racism is not a known side effect of our drug, which I thought was the one bit of humour that did actually work for me.
Right, the one I like. I know you tell me not to, but I read the comments on YouTube and various other places as well, and somebody just put a final thought, and they put, "It beats me what anyone would want to watch that shrieking Harrodin anyway." Which
oh God!
It kind of kills it all stone dead, doesn't it? Really, that's it. This is the Bull and Specs podcast with Shane O'Connor and Adrian Lacey. We've had some terrible news this week, haven't we, Adrian, about the cartoon characters that can be used in advertising. Well, I say terrible news because there's a generation of youngsters, or maybe oldsters now, who grew up with all of these characters, and we're all sitting there scratching our heads thinking, did it make a difference? Did it make us eat less healthy food than we would have done ordinarily? There's been a call for a blanket ban on companies using cartoon characters. Full stop. They don't want to use any. They're saying, no, it is wrong if they're promoting unhealthy food to children. Now, they're not saying all cartoon characters, are they? Because I read one article that said the Green Giant for the the sweet corn fella.
Sweet corn, yeah.
He'd be all right. He would escape the call.
Well, he's very tall. They don't want to take him on. That's my theory.
I was going to say that he's just a big fella. And that's they don't want to make him angry. They wouldn't like him when he's angry. But yeah, so they're saying now that these kind of characters, even the Milky Bar Kid comes in for criticism. I didn't realise that, but I suppose that is one of the most obvious ones, isn't it? When you think back to our childhood.
But he's not a cartoon character. Well, he wasn't in our childhood. It's
no,
the young kids.
But he's kind of I suppose where do you stop it if you have like kind of characters that are espousing what a great thing this is and it isn't healthy for you?
Shall I tell you what's more worrying thinking about it, about the Milky Bar Kid? What was he spinning in his fingers? On each hand?
His revolver,
his guns, yeah.
I was only a cap gun, though, wasn't it? Because he was a kid, so it was.
Yeah, but you say that it's a gateway drug. No,
it's a gateway weapon.
It's a gateway weapon.
Start on a cap gun, mate, and that's it. You're under a starting pistol before you know it.
Where's it all going to end? So, and the honey monster. Who'd have thought we'd be talking about the demise of the honey monster?
Yeah, it didn't affect me, though, Mummy.
But it affected your voice. But hang on. Sugar puffs, they're not the worst.
When I first learned that I could do that as a kid, that was the first thing that I did was
tell him about the honey, Mummy.
Was that before you took up smoking?
That was the after actually, and the drinking gin was all in the same year. Yeah.
What a year that was.
Do you think we were influenced? Do you think we've fallen for it hook, line, and sinker?
Yeah, but equally, yes and no. I mean, I remember Tony the Tiger because he was great. You couldn't ignore him. Very powerful character. But at the same time, we'd more often than not have cornflakes without the frosted sugar frosting on them. So we'd have boring cornflakes more often than Frosties. And cornflakes, I mean, heavily advertised cornflakes were, but it didn't have that I can recall, the cartoon character.
See, I preferred the cornflakes because it was a control thing. I just wanted to put my own sugar on. That was all.
That's so you.
That was all.
Give me the boy at 5 and I'll show you the man.
I just wanted control.
Mummy, can I count out the absolute number of granules I've decided are acceptable?
Was that me? Because I never talked like that.
Yeah, because you had a... Mummy. Mummy,
Yes.
where did you shell like? I probably can't do that accent. I'll be in the clink before you know it for doing that.
But the whole thing of whether things. I mean, because we grew up in an era where we cooked in lard, for God's sake.
Oh, don't.
So whether things were healthy or not wasn't, pardon the pun, but wasn't on the menu, was it? It wasn't really.
No.
It wasn't part of the consideration.
The real miracle is why you and I are still breathing after all that. We used to have suet puddings at school. It's virtually a banned substance now.
It's only the saturated fat holding me together these days now. So if you took that away, that'd be it. I don't know if I told you this story before, but I know I've mentioned it to other people. Was when I started smoking, I had a John Player special racing car as a kid. I think I've still got it actually, somewhere in the loft probably. And when I started smoking, when I got a bit older, but not wiser, obviously.
Wasn't it so?
What a stupid thing to do. I thought, it's a great idea. I'll take up fags for a living. Although I was in a petrol station the other day, £12 a packet, £12 for 20.
No way.
Yeah, £12 for 20 fags these days. And it's difficult to be able to afford to kill yourself, isn't it, in this country now? But so the first brand that I smoked, I have to say subsequently I couldn't afford to smoke them. I got a cheaper one, was one.
Benson and Hedges? I was just trying to be oblique because I know what you're like. You lead me up the garden path. Come on.
It was Hamlet cigars. And I often wonder. I think back to that. I think was I sort of being impressionable by smoking John Player Special? It's a thought, isn't it? I don't know.
It's perfectly possible. Yeah, hard to prove either way, of course.
Because it had a very strong branding, didn't it? It was like the gold on black, the gold lettering on black, and the race car was the same. The Formula One racing car was the same. The JPS and it had a JPS, and they were interlinked. It kind of got a logo and everything. It was all very stylized.
If you carry on any longer describing it, I'm going to want to light up in it.
I'm just going to go get a packet of fags. I'll be back in a minute.
Or buy myself a racing car. Yeah, which is healthier. Get myself that way.
One or the other, yeah. But so I don't know, and I often wonder, was I hooked because of that?
Can I name drop at a tangent for a moment?
Not John
Player.
Player.
I was in the no, yeah, the original John Player. No, Peter Stuyvesant. Friend of my dad's.
You do go back a long way, don't you?
I do.
If you knew Peter
Found
Stuyvesant.
in New York as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I was in a TV studio with Jockey Stewart, bless him, who's he's become an elder statesman of just wisdom. There isn't a word wiseness, is there?
No.
But he would know that, being wise. But anyway, his racing car from the 70s was there. And I can't remember how we got to it, but someone said, and it was completely official because it had a security guard by it. They said, do you want to try lifting this thing? Do you know? I know it's going to be lighter than a heavy Ford truck or something. This thing was ridiculously light.
Right.
Do you have any notion? I mean, I couldn't tell you what it is in pounds, but it only took me, and I'm no bodybuilder, but it was something you could lift on your own. You didn't need any help. Just virtually, light as a feather would be a bit of a cliche and slight exaggeration.
Was it because it's just tubes and aluminium, isn't it? I think it's just tubular work. And
are we talking cigarettes or racing cars? I'm getting confused now.
Well, I could really
There's a lot
taste
of
the
tubes.
aluminium in these. It's gorgeous.
Well, you've seen the photos on the outside of the package these days.
Yeah.
We're slightly digressing from great Tony the Tiger, but I think, if we came back in a few years when Frank is getting into peak pester power, how's that for alliteration? Keep Britain tidy. I think you'll be rather grateful if this ban goes through. Myself.
I see that as my job. I mean, that is my job, is to say no, and here's why I'm saying no. Because look at the back of the packet. Look, it's full of salt, or it's this, or it's that, and you have that conversation. I mean, to me, this is for people who are either unwilling or unable to have that conversation with their child, and then you've got to question whether somebody, if they're unwilling or unable to have that conversation with the child, should be parents in the first place. I'm not trying to get all, holier than thou about it, but I really do believe that.
You're not trying to, but you do it naturally so well.
I'm sorry, but you have to, don't you? Surely, I mean, you've got to, you have that responsibility of being a parent.
It's not either or, is it? It's isn't it nice for a parent for the advertising to be in tune with what they're trying to persuade them? Because parenting, I observe as a non-parent, looks pretty tough to me at times. And if you've got, I don't know, single mother with 3 kids she's looking after, the last thing she needs is to be making one case with them, having the conversation in all good conscience, and then for them to sit in front of the telly for hours and getting a different message. That's mixed messages, isn't it?
Probably the last thing she needs is another child, but that's another story for another day.
But you sound like a roving tabloid.
No, I'm not. Like I say, I think that is my responsibility as a parent.
And to tell her not to have any more kids.
And I'm prepared to step up to the plate and to do that and to take that. I mean, maybe if they just kept Tony the Tiger, but he went, they're bad for you.
Or have some really wholesome character to promote lettuce. Do you remember Spitting Image had Dustin Hoffman? I played the part of a lettuce. Do you remember that? It was a random
actually,
reference.
I didn't until you said it, until you did the impression.
And he's actually, his puppet is dressed, is dressed as a lettuce. And he's got a lettuce on his head. I've kind of lost it now, but it's the time of day.
It's interesting, isn't it? McDonald's got rid of Ronald, didn't they? When did that happen? There was a Ronald call, wasn't there? You don't see the I mean, clowns are a bit. They took on
a bit spooky, aren't they?
Yeah, they took on a different,
potentially
a different man. I was trying to think. The reason I said that, I was trying to think who else, other than we talked about Tony the Tiger. Who else is there that they have cartoon characters to advertise?
Well, I don't watch kids' TV, so I've got that. I watch, TV supposedly for adults, which is immature, but that's another thing entirely. Well, we mentioned Honey Monster, somewhat inevitably, cue the voice.
But is he still going, Honey Monster? I mean, if he is,
I'm reading this headline that said he could be banned, so I assume he's still going.
Right.
Yeah. But that's amazing, isn't it? When you think, we don't really want to remember how many years since we were exposed to these Frosties ads, but it's a number of decades, isn't it?
The interesting thing is that it's Jamie Oliver has stepped into this, hasn't he, and said that you should be using it to promote healthy foods rather than unhealthy foods. And he's been slammed, as they often say. People are getting slammed in the papers, aren't they? Oh, that's nasty. I'll be back in a minute. I've just been slammed. TV chef Jamie Oliver slammed for using cartoon characters to promote sugar-laden cakes. So he's done it.
Has he done that himself?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this safely in the past for him?
But I don't know if you ever watch his cookery. Well, I don't know when it was.
It's not exactly healthy eating, is it? I mean, I haven't seen it recently. But when Nigella wants to put half a ton of goose fat in everything she cooks.
It's mentally, he's putting just put half a pound of butter in here, and you think, I'll have a heart attack before I get to the plate. It's ridiculous.
I quite like that. You did Brumney, half Brummie and half Cockney.
What's that?
Your accent then. You did a bit of Jamie Oliver, then you turned Shane at the end of it.
Oh, well, I was yeah.
I'm going to put half a pound of butter in that. No, I can't do it.
Butter.
I'm going to end up in jail at this rate. Being misunderstood. Sorry, Gav, it's a fair cop.
Oh.
But yes, and also, one doesn't want to be weightist. People are free to eat what they want and be whatever size they want, but there's not too many celebrity chefs who are on the thin side, are there? That's all I'm going to observe. I'll park it there.
Do you know, I never really thought, but now you mention it, yeah. All the ones I just thought of when you said it was, I think you're quite right.
I mean, the hairy bikers went through a dieting phase, but that was only the other side of having fattened all their viewers up before they went dieting.
It was a deliberate ploy, wasn't it? They get you, they reel you in, and then. Yeah, get out, fatty.
Yeah, get our new book for Christmas where we tell you how to lose all the pounds that we put on.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's an interesting thing because I'm a great believer that it comes back to parental. There aren't enough parents in this country that are prepared to have the conversation which involves no with their children. Is my belief. Anecdotally. I believe that, and I think the sooner you have a conversation with your child and your child realises they live in a world where no exists, I think you start to create a better adult as a result of that.
We live in a world where no more time exists.
No,
see what I did there?
We can't finish. I want to continue forever.
Well, no.
What?
I'm putting my foot down.
Don't
That's
like it
actually
myself.
my hand. When it's turned on you, it's a different story.
I'm putting my foot down with a firm hand. If you want to watch you're going to hurt yourself.
I've done myself a mischief. I'm going to cough now, so it's over to you to choose whether you want to talk video or audio. I'm happy to do either, but I'm going to cough if I don't have a swig.
Well, there's the devil in me that wants to go the other way, but I'm not going to do it. Mrs. He was right. He did want to cough.
I did.
Shall I tell you how to get hold of the podcast in audio style if you don't want to see the pictures? But you can see the pictures. He'll tell you how you can see the pictures in a second. If you want to see the audio, if you want to hear the audio rather, all the normal places that you would pick up a podcast is the... Pick up a penguin is the other one as well.
Well, there's one. But if you're seeing the audio, I suspect you've imbibed some substance which isn't advertised on mainstream TV.
Or you just sat there eating your sugar puffs, one or the other, aren't they?
Well, yeah, too much sugar can make you...
make you...
Forget what you're going to say
next. I thought he was going to say make you very quiet. I thought that's what it was. Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, iTunes are all places that you can get the podcast. Of course, you can see the pictures, Adrian.
At the YouTube. So just go along to YouTube and search for Bull and Specs. And as we always say, if you're a regular viewer stroke listener, is an ampersand. So don't spell it out. It's the squiggly thing above the number 7 on your QWERTY keyboard. And let me beseech you also, see that word beseech isn't trotted out enough, frankly, and that's for people who don't attend church enough, I suspect. Digression. Where am I going with this? I'm going to try and encourage you to encourage other people to listen and watch Bull and Specs, because it's your recommendation that is gold dust to us. So thank you in advance for recommending us.
In the meantime, we will see you on the next episode, number 32, if my chronology is working correctly as it should be, on the next episode of the Bull and Specs podcast. In the meantime, thanks for being with us. I'm
going to eat healthily, he says, holding up a bedraggled banana skin.
That's not fair. He's always got a banana with him. I haven't got anything.
That's one I prepared earlier.
And I should be making sure I eat plenty of bird seed.